I had my annual physical last week, and my doctor kept insisting that I stay completely vertical during the exam. But about halfway through, I finally asked him why it mattered so much that I be vertical. Well, he looked me directly in the eye and he said, "Because I'm trying to determine if your health is in good standing." Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and happy Thanksgiving. Now you might be wondering, what in the heck is this guy wearing today? I couldn't think of anything more American and Thanksgiving-ish, is that a word? Than wearing a flannel and a cardigan, but not only that, colors that represent this festive occasion. So, with that being said, welcome to AcqProTips, where we seek to demystify and break down the essentials of government contracting so you can navigate the process with confidence. As you might already know, my name is Josh, and I'm a warranted government contracting officer. And in today's video, I'll be speaking on something potentially secret, or perhaps what some people might even call a sensitive topic. I am referring to the DD Form 254. To start this video, let's just cover the basics. A DD Form 254 is the Department of War's Security Classification Specification. It's the official document that tells a contractor whether they need access to classified information, what level of access they'll need, and what protection standards apply. The form never contains classified information itself. It simply outlines the requirements necessary to work with it. When it comes to contracting, timing is critical. A DD Form 254 isn't something you fill out at the last minute. As soon as the requiring activity realizes that a requirement involves contractor interaction with sensitive or classified information, the DD Form 254 process begins. The requiring activity drafts the form. The Security Office validates the classification levels and the safeguarding standards. And once the form is validated, the contracting officer incorporates it into the solicitation. This is not optional. A DD 254 must be included in any classified solicitation so industry understands the clearance levels, access requirements, storage capabilities, and overall security posture necessary to even bid. At contract award, the contracting officer must execute a new original DD 254. The solicitation version cannot simply be reused or copied over. An award-level DD 254 becomes part of the legally binding contract. If the security requirements change at any point during performance, a revised DD 254 must be completed and incorporated through a contract modification. At the end of performance, a final DD 254 may be issued if the contractor formally requests to retain classified materials beyond the automatic 2-year retention period. If approved, the final 254 provides the retention authority and includes the required disposition instructions. It's also important to be clear about roles. The DD 254 is not drafted by the contracting officer. It begins with the requiring activity because they understand what the contractor will actually be doing. The Security Office ensures the classification and safeguarding the requirements are correct and lawful. The contracting officer's responsibility is to ensure the validated DD 254 is included in the solicitation and in the award, and that revisions occur whenever the requirement changes. Contractors rely on the DD 254 to confirm their facility clearance, the clearance levels of their personnel, and whether any subcontractors will require additional DD 254s. One point that often confuses new acquisition professionals is the role of the Government Contracting Activity, or GCA. Despite the title, a GCA is not one person. It's a team, a multifunctional group made up of the contracting, security, and the requiring activity. Together, they coordinate, validate, and implement all security requirements associated with the DD 254. No single individual owns the form. It is a collaborative responsibility. Another helpful clarification is that there is no one single formal FAR, DFARS, or DAFARS process for completing a DD-254. While the authorities and responsibilities are spelled out in those regulations, the actual workflow, who signs, who routes, who approves, and in what sequence is determined by your installation, your MAGCOM, or your command. That's why coordination with your local security office is essential. Now let's take a look at the form itself. When completing the DD Form 254, you start by identifying the contractor's required facility clearance level in Item 1 Alpha. This is simply the highest level of classified information the contractor must access. You only list confidential, secret, or top secret here. You're not identifying special categories. You also verify whether the contractor already has the appropriate clearance or needs sponsorship through DCSA, and remember that DD-254s are not used for foreign contractors. Next, in Item 1 Bravo, you indicate the highest level of classified material the contractor must store at their own facility. This must be equal to or lower than the level in Item 1 Alpha. If the contractor will not store any classified information on site, you write none. Item 2 identifies what this DD-254 applies to. If it's a prime contract, you insert the prime contract number. If it's a subcontract, well then you enter the subcontract number and reference the prime in Item 2 Alpha. If it applies to a solicitation, you list the solicitation number and the due date for proposals, which you can get from your contracting office. When the contract is awarded, a new DD-254 will replace the solicitation version. Item 3 tells you whether the DD-254 is the original, a revision, or a final version. The original box is checked when the DD-254 is first issued. A revised version is used when any security requirements change and each revision receives a new date and revision number. A final DD-254 is only used when the contract ends and the contractor needs authorization to retain classified materials beyond the 2-year automatic retention period. Item 4 identifies whether this contract is a follow-on to a previous classified contract. If so, you list the preceding contract number so the contractor knows which classified materials or information can be transferred to the new effort. Item 5 asks whether this is a final DD-254. You only select yes if this is at contract completion and the government has approved the contractor's request to retain classified material beyond 2 years. Item 6 identifies the contractor, including their legal name, full address, cage code, and the appropriate DCSA cognizant security office responsible for their oversight. If you don't have this information at the time of filling out the DD-254, mostly because it's at solicitation, then the contractor will fill out this section, so don't worry about it. Item 7 repeats the same information, but for any subcontractors that will require a DD-254 from the prime contractor. Item 8 lists every location where classified work will occur. This includes contractor facilities, subcontractor facilities, and government sites. You list the facility's address, cage code if applicable, and the appropriate DCSA field office. If all classified work occurs at the contractor's address listed earlier, you simply state that. Item 9 provides an unclassified description of the procurement. This must be a simple, plain language description of the work with no classified terms or identifiers. Item 10 identifies the types of information the contractor must access. You only check what applies. This could include ComSec, restricted data, national intelligence information, special access programs, NATO information, foreign government information, ACCM, CUI, or any other specific access requirement. Each checked box must be supported with clarifying details in Item 13 or Item 14. Item 11 identifies what the contractor must actually do with the information. You select whether they will access classified material only at another site, receive and store documents, generate or derive classified information, fabricate or store classified hardware, perform services, operate overseas, access DTIC, require a ComSec account, meet Tempest or OPSEC requirements, use defense couriers, handle CUI, or meet any other performance-related requirement. Only the boxes that apply should be checked, and some combinations are not allowed unless explained in Item 13. Item 12 provides the procedures for public release. It tells the contractor which government office handles public release requests and that nothing may be released without approval. Item 13 is where you provide additional security guidance or clarify anything referenced in earlier items. You use this section for explanations, classification guides, program-specific references, or instructions the contractor must follow. Item 14 is used only when additional security requirements apply beyond the NISP. What the hell is a NISP? I actually had to look this up. I have no idea what this means, but NISP means National Industrial Security Program Operating Manual. So there you have it. Never heard of it. When checked, these requirements must also appear in the contract itself or be included in Item 13. Item 15 identifies any inspections that will be performed by an organization other than DCSA. This is common for CSI, SAP, or certain overseas operations. Item 16 identifies the government contracting activity, including its name, address, AAC or DODEC, and point of contact. Just for your situational awareness, this is your contracting office. Give them a call, send them an email, get that information in there properly. Item 17 contains the certifying signature of the contracting officer or authorized representative, along with their title, address, cage code, if applicable, phone number, and email. Your CO can fill this out. Finally, Item 18 identifies who receives copies of the DD-254. The certifying official lists all recipients, including DCSA, the contractor's facility security officer, subcontractors, and any other required addresses. Additional distribution details can be included in Item 13 if necessary. Here is your acquisition pro tip. Start your DD-254 early. Get your security office involved as soon as anyone identifies a classified component. A DD-254 is far easier to build correctly at the beginning than it is to fix after the solicitation goes out and industry starts asking questions about access requirements. If you wait until after contract award to determine that a DD-254 is required, it is almost certain that the contractor will request an equitable adjustment, which means an increase to the total contract value. On top of that, the contracting officer will have to make an in-scope determination. When determining whether a modification is within scope of the contract, the CO must analyze three things. First, the extent of any changes in the type of work, period of performance, and cost between the modification and the original contract. Second, whether the original solicitation adequately advised offerers of the potential for the change, or whether the change is something they reasonably could have anticipated. And third, whether the modification materially changes the field of competition for the requirement. If you consider the type of changes required to go from no classified requirement to establishing one, you can see these factors quickly become problematic. Adding a new security classification can fundamentally alter the nature of the requirement, which means there is a high probability the change will be considered out of scope. Waiting until after contract award or even after the solicitation closes to formalize a DD-254 puts your contracting officer in a pretty difficult position and undermines the effectiveness of your requirement. So please take the time to work with your end user, your security office, and your subject matter experts to determine the necessity of a DD-254 early in the process. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another acquisition pro tip. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Take care. Stay safe out there.